Welcome to What's New in Electronics TV. We're here at Productronica in Munich, and we've got a great panel here today talking about the circular economy specific to our industry. My name is Kim Sauer. I'm an independent marketing consultant in the industry, and we're here with Michael Ford from AEGIS, Joel Scutchfield from KOH YOUNG, welcome, Mark Laing from Mentor, Siemens Company, and Matthias Fehrenbach from EUTECT or EUTECT, whichever language you're going to be talking in. So, as I mentioned, the circular economy is one of those topics that we first discussed in 2017, actually here on this stage, and it had a huge interest from people because it involves recycling, it involves a different type of thinking in our manufacturing world, looking at how we manufacture, not in a linear way, but in a circular way, from cradle to cradle. So when I was researching the topic, I was actually quite shocked at some of the figures that I saw in terms of wastage that this industry is creating. And I'm just going to quote a couple of those. So apparently, we annually create 50 million tons of e-waste globally. 90% of that goes into landfill, so gets incinerated or buried. Europe and the US account for almost half of that. 2 years on from our last discussion here, where really we came to the conclusion the industry wasn't doing very much at all, if anything, we're still seeing these figures. So I want to really kick off the discussion as to where you feel we are with incorporating the circular economy or circular thinking into our strategies going forward, because you just have to look at the news recently. It's been termed as a crisis. It's not a problem. We have a crisis on our hands, and that needs to be addressed by everybody in any type of industry, but particularly here. So if I could just throw the question out to you, what are we doing, and are we doing enough?
I'll just kick it off. I think everybody wants to save the planet. We're all on the same page with that, I guess? Fine. So how much does it cost to save the planet? I mean, there is a calculation that is done by everybody to see how much effort we're going to go to in order to reduce the kind of material waste, some of the energy waste, the long-range shipping of products, which doesn't add any value. But it's kind of been difficult to get your heads around, what really practically can we do? Two things are kind of changing. One is that it's not just about the waste. It's also about the material supply, and this is where it becomes circular, because a lot of elements are going to become in short supply. Maybe because there are very few of them, or maybe they're being controlled by certain elements around the world. So there is an interest to get the materials back. So what has changed since 2 years when we spoke? The EU government has created this new legislation that is basically saying that we want to recycle things in a very precise way now. So it has been talking to the material supply chain, or the supply chain network for the EU as well as the UK and even globally, to be able to have traceability of elements, chemicals and components all the way through from their original manufacture through to a discarded product. So it means that you would be able to read an ID on a discarded product, be able then to access exactly what is contained within that product and exactly where to find it. Now, in order to do that, we have this thing called traceability. And this is probably something you hear a lot about these days. Traceability enables us to pinpoint the exact content of these materials. Now, traceability in assembly, maybe we've all come across it. It's a great quality tool. However, when you feed that traceability up through the supply chain and you are inclusive of this supply chain network, you can start to build a very cost-effective structure that supports many aspects of modern manufacturing. For example, if we're going to transfer the knowledge of component elements, why not transfer knowledge of the components, the 3D representation of parts? how heavy the part is, the thermal profile of the part, how many leads it's got. This is kind of standard industrial information that the guys who make these fantastic inspection machines, for example, they need that information and it's hard to come by. But let's join the dots. Let's play together with the material supply chain, the actual machines in production who give the data for the traceability. Let's collect all of the traceability data together and see what we get. What we get is the ability to improve recycling, make it cost effective. We have improvements in manufacturing due to quality. We have wonderful closed loop systems that mean we get towards zero defects. I mean, the list just goes on. And for me, the real important thing about this topic is it combines all of these improvements together and saves the planet.
Yet we're still in a situation where we've got all this waste going on, and the theory, the Industry 4.0 theory, and we've been talking about that topic for ages and ages, the traceability is all there, and everything you're saying, the platform is there, but are we actually implementing it to the extent that we should to save the planet?
It's legislated now.
I think we are, and it's taking some time, and it will take time. It's an evolutionary process, as we all know. But I think the key is, from our perspective, what we're looking at is the elimination of rework and scrap.
Can I just hold
a little closer?
I think. Can you hear?
Better this way?
Sorry? Yeah.
Okay. So again, the elimination of rework, the elimination of scrap. We have customers that are not allowed to rework boards. They have to scrap if there is a defect, right? So there's certainly cost and materials associated with that. But how do you do that? You do that by improving the process to the point where you're not making defects that have to be reworked or scrapped. So you need software, you need tools, you need all of the smart factory connectivity that allows you to implement the change needed to eliminate those types of occurrences, those types of events. You need the closed loop feedback, you need the real-time feedback, you need machines talking to machines, you need that push toward the whole self-healing initiative that many of us have been speaking about, such that we basically minimize the occurrence of rework and scrap in the manufacturing process. Now we can talk about energy consumption and all those other things, but staying on that topic of smart factory implementation, Industry 4.0, driving forward with the connectivity initiatives where we can pass information not only between our own machines, in our case, AOI, SPI, and so on and so forth, but also, again, now working with the printer companies, working with the mounter companies to pass information back and forth. And not just results information, but real information that we can use in an AI environment to make adjustments on the fly to self-correct. And I think that's really the key. That's that from a materials perspective. Mm-hmm. And again, we have the traceability, we have all of this that goes along with it. But at the core, the minimization of the rework and scrap in total will have a huge effect on this, at least at the factory level, right? Mm-hmm.
And actually, if I can jump to Matthias then, from a machine producer point of view, how are you cooperating along that supply chain with other suppliers when you're developing new machines, new software to go along with it?
There's something happening completely new for us the last 3 years. That means that some customers, because we are over 25 years on the market, now are calling us or contacting us to take back the machines. And we are doing this since 2 years now. And it's a very, very interesting, let's say, situation for us and a new point of view for building up machines. Because taking back an old machine, what are you doing with this? Yeah, you can just throw it away, put it into waste, or you can disassemble into several parts, like you told. If the product has a tag or a datamatics code, then you can exactly read out what is happening inside the product. But we try to reuse the machines, so the housings, some components, and regarding the machines which we rebuild, we came up to maximum 60% of the mechanic parts which we can reuse. And this is quite a lot. And but the electronic parts, this is the interesting thing. It is not more than 10%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's sometimes some motor, some, let's say, power unit or anything which you can reuse, but it's not getting more. And that makes the thing very, very interesting regarding the electronic waste. Mm-hmm. And for us, it's more the thinking, the pre-cycling. So we do not recycling. When we are building up a machine, we are now looking up how will it work in 10 years? Regarding the handling, regarding the automation, what can we use in 10 years? We can use further. And we also developed with some very good, interesting customer new machines with robotics. So maximum flexibility, maximum reusability for other products. But in the end, it's all about the software, the electronic. And but this pre-cycling also means we have to think about the retrofit. Retrofit is the same in English, yeah? Mm-hmm. What happens in 10 years?
Yeah.
What put we in, and what is happening with the technology we put into the machine in 10 years? Yeah,
Mark,
it's like a pre-cycling.
It's a different way of thinking and developing and innovating, I guess. So you talk to a lot of people along that whole supply chain. What sort of feedback are you getting? Are people already thinking at that level, or are we still very much at a level where it's a new thing that is developing out of an Industry 4.0 type of thinking as an add-on?
So I think they are. There is that expansion, but I'd like to expand on the points that have been made. We're at Productronica, where we're talking about efficient production, but a lot of this is reactive, right? These products are being supplied to us to produce, but a lot of these decisions, a lot of the efficiency that we gain in manufacturing, a lot of the recycling and that generation of waste during that process can be is designed into those products very early on. So if we can understand and affect the design side, we make that more efficient, we make it more recyclable. The issues, as we produce those boards in manufacturing, they can be extracted from the, to produce things more efficiently. And I think that's an area where we can take this from being a very reactive environment, where we're just reacting to what we're building and making sure that it's designed into it to be recyclable. And it's an area that I think where we can focus much more moving forward, and not just what's happening as those products are moving through manufacture, but also actually in the real world from a recycling perspective and a traceability area that Michael was mentioning earlier. So it's really that whole side of from the design all the way through manufacturing from a...
I'd just like to pick up on that because I agree with Mark. Design has a lot to answer for, and I don't mean the design tools, I mean the people who use the design tools. Has anybody here got a washing machine in their house? Yeah, a few nods, yeah, okay. How long have you had that for? Like a year? 3 years? 5 years? 10 years? 50 years? No. Oh, maybe one, okay. That'll be the wooden one, right. But the fact is that a lot of design, I mean, people have been talking about design for obsolescence because they want to sell you a new one. They want to sell you the latest and greatest products every year. We live in an economy that is continuously expanding. And so people design the cheapest possible washing machine, and then they try and sell it to you. You have it for a year or two, it breaks down, you don't care, throw it away, buy a new one. Looks great. New paint job, new colors, it fits in with your color scheme. It's great. But what a waste. Now, what's the alternative? Would you spend 50% more on buying a washing machine that would last twice as long? Now, economically, that kind of makes sense, as long as you're not one of these fashion-conscious people that changes their kitchen every year, which is another waste you could talk about. What about if you were to pay double for a washing machine that would last 4 times as long? These are the decisions that we need to make as consumers when we consider this recyclable economy. It applies to domestic products, it applies to business products, it applies to the machines, and it's great to hear that you're already doing that. But it starts, as Mark said, with design. Is there a function within the design software that says, here is my quality and my life prediction for this product, as well as the information that I need for recycle? I think as an industry, as a community, as a planet, as consumers, we need to take the message back to say, look, these tools are available, we've been discussing them, start using them and start giving us what we want. And it's the consumers, the machine vendors who drive that.
Yeah, and I think you hit on a very key topic there, Michael. The designers need information, right? And what are we talking about here? What are we seeing here? It's information, managing information. Again, back to the connectivity initiative that I spoke of earlier. We have to, again, in a unified fashion, get all that information to the hands of the right people. So all of this, it's not only design, it's designed for manufacturability, it's soup to nuts, right? Mm-hmm. So again, everything that we're talking about here, everything that we're doing, everything that we're promoting, everything that we're moving forward with from, again, that Industry 4.0 perspective really plays into that if it's utilized properly. And again, that's the key. And I think the other side of that is we have to find manufacturers that will build products that will last twice as long if they pay for it, right? Because it seems like the trend is going the other way, right? You used to get 15, 20 years out of a washing machine. Now you don't, right? Mm-hmm. So that has to be overcome, right? That has to be overcome.
I also think that this is, for me, is something also with the humanity. And because when you create quality, you create value. With value, you create sense. In doing, in being, in also the, let's say, the products. And this makes thinking in another way. Yes, traceability, yes, design. When you are working as a designer and you have a lot of fun and you know, okay, I'll do it in the right way. I'm a, let's say, technology specialist, and I want to create better things, good things, and not in the back cost. And this also produces in us a new, let's say, creativity, yes, for finding new solutions. If we get some more value, if we get some more sense in our head, when we see sense in something, yeah, we go for it.
Well, here's an idea for you, because we see a trend in the market already where people seem to not want to own anything anymore. Because we've got to take this argument into the realm of the OEMs, the manufacturers who actually make the washing machine, yeah? They're not going to be too happy about hearing what we've been talking about, saying you're going to sell one and that's it. But people don't want to own things anymore. So what if, for example, you have a young couple, they get together, they want to have a house, they just have a small amount of laundry. So they want something that's, a small washer, not so sophisticated, they want it to be low cost. So why not, instead of buying it, why not rent it? Why not go into this, model where that we use for music? We subscribe to things. So we subscribe to the service of washing our clothes. But then, oh dear, kids have come along. Suddenly, we've doubled our requirement for laundry. So instead of throwing it away and buying a new one, why don't we just swap it out under the contract that we have? So these new models of how people relate to objects within their house, things that they until now have been owning, but maybe we can consider more of a service, which, after the item has been in use, it goes back for a degree of refurbishment, as you've been alluding to, whereby it can be then presented for its next use almost like a new piece of equipment. And so there could be a model there where we can start to break down that barrier of, I have to throw this away, I have to get a new one, I'm on my own, now I'm part of a community which is bringing this cyclable thing to life. Do you agree?
Yes, I agree completely. This is one of my dreams. Because, yeah, we see that, for example, Volvo, you get a car service, you don't lease it, you are buying a service. Or Philips, you buy not the bulbs or something, you buy the light service. Or, yeah. And the thing is to create machines which are as flexible as, let's say, adjustable for each customer request in a very, very easy way. And just to have these services, that because a lot of products are running 3 years, 4 years maximum, some 10 years, yes.
Yeah.
There it makes sense to invest in a machine, in a complete machine, or we have also machines running there now running over 20 years in a 3-shift production. That's great. And but to support customers or support the needs of the people with a service, that makes, for me, immensely, is it an English word? I don't know. Sense, yes. Yeah.
It's interesting, and we're running out of time. I've just had a little sign there that we've got 2 minutes left. It's gone really, really quickly, and I'm not surprised. But what I'm hearing out of this is, I suppose because it's circular, everybody is responsible. It's not driven by the consumer or the manufacturer or the politics or the industry associations. It's all of our responsibility to do this right and be innovative going forward. So just to sort of wrap it up and then very quickly maybe open it up to the floor for some questions, would you all agree or disagree that we're at the beginning of the circular economy revolution, wider Industry 4.0 thinking globally, so that we secure our future and the future of our future generations? Or nodding, that's great.
So I think, if we look at a lot of these technologies, they've evolved around the quality and the efficiency, and this sort of recyclability, I think, will start to pervade all of these different areas, over the next few years,
Yeah.
To react to people demand. You mentioned at the beginning about legislation, but it's also people demand. And getting that feedback and driving the OEMs to build this type of product. And if that's what the consumer demand is, then that will take us forward.
I think the key from our perspective is use the information, right? There's just a multitude of information out there. You have to be able to sift through that quickly. We have to provide tools that allow the users, the consumers, whoever they might be, to sift through that quickly and then apply what's needed to make the change required to get us to where we need to be, right?
Yeah.
So information is power. How do we have more than we've ever had, and that trend is not going to stop. How do we get to the meaningful information as quickly as possible, and apply that or provide that in a usable format as quickly as possible, and then have that person or system take action
to implement it. I do have to stop it now. I know. This is a really interesting conversation to have, and I, invite you all to talk to the panel after this. But I am under time pressure, unfortunately. So I don't think I've got time for questions. Do I have time for questions? Unfortunately, I don't. But thank you very much for your time and interest in the panel, and I'm sure you'll be available for some questions straight after. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.